Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
We are learning Mishnah Shabbos, Perek Tes, Chapter 9, Mishnah Zion, Mishnah 7. This morning's learning should be a schos for my mother's neshama, Shalamas Maser Yaakov Eliezer, Mr. Shalom, Mr. Binowitz. Hamaitzi Kupas Hareichlin. Again, continuing with the laws regarding carrying something, transferring something from a private domain to public domain, or vice versa, or carrying in a public domain, which we call Haitzah. So now the Mishnah says like this: Hamaitzi Kupas Hareichlin. If somebody carries out a peddler's box of perfumes, so the peddler would have this box. The box had a number of compartments, and each compartment had its own separate bag of different spices that were used as perfumes. Although the box contains many different types of spices, of perfumes, and you'll only be liable for one sin offering. If he carries it outside unintentionally on Shabbos, it is considered that he has only transgressed one act of haitzah, one act of transferring. Because although there are, as the Mishnah points out, although there are many types of things in the box, but the box itself is one. And therefore it's considered carrying one item. And therefore is considered one act of haitzah, and therefore only carries the obligation of one sin offering if done unintentionally. Next, back to the shiurim, back to the sizes of things for it to be considered significant enough to be considered the prohibited activity of haitzah. Zar'ine gina. Zar'ine gina means garden seeds. That means the seeds of vegetables that are sown in a garden. They are not for eating. If they be for eating, then their minimum size would be the minimum size for all foods, which is a gregeris, a dried fig. Regarding these seeds that are used for planting, pachas gregeris.
That's easy for you.
Yeah. Then it's going to be slightly less than the size of a gregeris. It's not that much different, but it's not going to be the volume of a gregeris, which is again the minimum size for all foods, because these are not foods. These are seeds that are used for planting. And what's considered a significant amount of seeds that a person would store in order to plant? The answer is slightly less than the volume of a gregeris. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira says, Chamisha. You have to have a minimum of 5 seeds. That is a smaller amount than slightly less than a gregeris. Rabbi Yehuda says to be liable for carrying out seeds, for carrying seeds to public domain, all you need is 5 seeds. That's all you need to be considered liable. He considered that a significant enough amount, and therefore he said 5 seeds is what's going to make you liable for haitzah. That's Yehuda ben Beseira, and that's not the halacha. We say less than the size of a dried fig. All right, now, and still there are going to be certain, as we're going to list now, which is not a continuation of Yehuda ben Beseira. It's going back to the first opinion would agree to this. There are going to be certain seeds that everybody agrees that even less than a gregeris is going to be liable, because these seeds are considered very important seeds, and therefore even a small amount of them people will store in order to plant them. So zera kishuim are cucumber seeds. Cucumber seeds 2. Zera deluyin shnayim, the seeds of gourds 2. Zera pol hamitzri shnayim, the seeds of now pol hamitzri would sound like a Egyptian bean, right? Pol is like a bean, mitzri is Egyptian. But they call it here a cowpea, Cowpea. Okay, it's a bean-like plant. 2 of them, the seeds of 2 of them, you would be liable for. These types of seeds are more valuable than ordinary garden seeds, and therefore even just 2 of each one of them is considered significant to be considered haitzah. Next, chagav chai tahar, a live kosher locust. Right? We know that the Torah says there are certain types of locust or grasshopper. What's the difference between a locust and a grasshopper?
They look quite different.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But chagav means locust. We know there are certain types of locusts that are kosher. The Torah tells us certain types are kosher, certain types aren't kosher. Most communities nowadays people don't eat even what's called kosher locust because we've kind of lost the tradition of how to identify a kosher locust. There are communities that still eat kosher that will still eat grasshoppers because they have a tradition how to determine it. So for them, okay, but we don't typically work with that, and therefore we stay away from these kinds of things. But according to the din, according to the halacha, there is such a thing as a kosher locust. Now, the Mishnah says chagav chaytar, a live kosher locust, kolshehu, in any size, whatever size this thing is, you'll be liable for. Now, we're talking about when it's alive, right? What are you going to do with a live locust? The answer is you're going to give it to your kid to play with.
Oh, okay.
That's what they did. They used to catch these locusts and give them to the kids to play with. And therefore, if it's live, it's not food. You don't eat it. You're not going to pop it into your mouth alive. It's not meant to be eaten alive. And, right, and I didn't say not, but I'm just saying it's not. That's not what it was typically used for. And therefore, that's not when they're alive. And therefore, we say that their usage is to be used as a toy, and therefore whatever size it is considered significant. Mace, but if it dies, right, so you can't play with it anymore, all you can do is, as Martin said, dip it in chocolate and then eat it. So then we say that, or you can do it without the chocolate too, Barry. But the point is that then it's considered food, and therefore it falls under the size of a gregaris like any other food, the volume of a dried fig. Now, Tziperes Karumim literally means the bird of the vineyard. That was another type of locust. It was kosher locust. Bein chaya bein mesa kol shehi. In that case, whether it's alive or it's dead, there again, any size you'd be liable for. Any size is significant. Why? Shemetznian oisa l'refuah. Because they used to put it away for refuah. It had certain medicinal purposes. And therefore, because it had those medicinal purposes, whatever size it was stored away. So again, in this case, even if it's dead, which theoretically could be eaten, but it wasn't just used for eating, it was used for medicinal purposes. And therefore, any size of this kind of a locust would be usable for that. And therefore, any size of this kind of locust is going to be any size. Rabbi Yehuda says, even if you carry out a live non-kosher locust, there too the size is kolshehu, any size. Why? Because again, people put it away for a child to play with. Now, the point of Rabbi Yehuda is like this. The Tanakama, when he talked about the locust, he spoke about a kosher locust, a live kosher locust. Not a dead kosher locust. A live kosher locust, not a live non-kosher locust. Okay. The question is why? And Rabbi Yehuda came to say, no, even a live kosher locust, any amount is going to be you'll be liable for any size because people put it away for the kids to play with. So what's the argument here? So the argument here is the following. Everybody agrees that theoretically, this non-kosher locust a kid could play with. The question is, would you give it to the kid to play with? Because if it dies, right, is the kid going to eat it? According to the Tanakama says we're afraid. The people, or I guess it's not common enough for people to give the non-kosher locust for the child to play with, because of the fact that if the locust dies and now it's edible, the kid's going to eat it, but it's not kosher and he can't eat it, and therefore people would not give it to the child to play with, or it wasn't, I guess, common enough for people to give it to the child to play with. Rabbi Yehuda says that we don't have to be so concerned about that if the non-kosher locust dies, that the child's going to eat it. You know why? Because it's going to be grieving over the fact that it died. And therefore, it's not going to eat it. So Rabbi Yehuda felt that that was enough of a reason not to be concerned, to allow the child to play with it. And therefore, it is considered something that people would put away for the child to do, the child to play with. And therefore, it's considered significant. So again, if the locust is going to be, if the locust is dead, right, and it's not kosher, so it's not a food, right? It's not a toy. It really probably doesn't have any significance at all. whatsoever. But if it's alive, Rabbi Yehuda said it was something you put away for a kid to play with. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, we don't have to be concerned the child's going to eat it because of the fact that he's going to be grieving over the fact that it died. Tanakama is concerned that no, nonetheless, the child may still go ahead and eat it because once it's dead, it's edible. He won't be as once it's dead and he can't play with it anymore. We are concerned he may still come to eat it, and therefore you wouldn't give it to a child to play with, and therefore the live non-kosher locust, according to the Tanakama, is not really usable, and therefore the locust you carried outside would not be considered haitzah, and the halach does not follow Rabbi Yehuda's opinion in this case either. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.